Hello, everyone, and glad to be here. My name is Sirinivvasan. This is my 20th year in the sports industry. Started before that 4 years in advertising. Started my journey with ESPN, where I worked for almost 5 years. Worked in almost every department. Then I joined Nike to head brand for Nike India. Following which, I was with the BCCI, where I used to head marketing and sponsorship for the IPL. I left the IPL to set up the Indian Super League. Worked on it for 2.5, 3 years, and for the last 3 years, I was part of the leadership team at Reliance Sports, working across all the sports verticals. And since May 2020, we've started Sporjo. Sporjo is a company which helps you get Sporjo, as the name suggests, it's short form for sports jobs, and we assess people, train people, and get them to work in the sports industry. My first choice was always sports, and since I finished B school in '97, that would have been my first choice. In fact, just before placement week, I went for an interview with IMG, and I almost got a job because he said that I'll hire you 2 years later because you need to, you need to have some work experience. You need to work in a structure because right then at that time IMG was based out of a 5-star hotel. So just work anywhere and come back after 2 years. And life comes a full circle. The last company I headed was IMG before I moved to entrepreneurship. Because there was nothing in sports, I joined advertising, which was my second love, very clearly. And then said, how do I sort of translate that into working in sports? So advertising was clearly my second love. And out of B school, I got placed on campus with Low. Worked with Low for 2 years, and then for 1.5 years, and then with a company in the Middle East for 2.5 years. Then sort of worked my way. Absolutely, and I knew I would. So I said I just kept at it. I mean, after ESPN, I haven't made my CV because I was headhunted from all places to go join. Even now I look for a CV. It's dated 2008 or 2009. So I was headhunted from place to place, but I was very, very sure that sports is the place that I want to be. And I worked in advertising to know enough, that you were doing something that did not come from the heart. And if it doesn't come from the heart, then I was not. I mean, it's not going to do. It's not good. I mean, yes, I used to work very, very hard. I used to come back home at 1:32 every morning, but that was just hard work. It was not fulfilling. I did. I just wanted to work in sports. That's it. I didn't have any plan. For me, it was I just wanted to do something with sports, and thankfully, it sort of worked out. But I did not have a plan that this is what I'll do. This is what I will do. So not at all. For me, the first step was finding a job in sports. I was at ESPN for 4 years, almost 5 years, 4 years, 10 months. I sort of enjoyed myself there. Learned so many things. Broadcast, how things happen, how things are sold, how do events happen. We managed a lot of events there. Across multiple sports, cricket, hockey. I mean, there was no direction after Nike as well. It's just that these things happened, and the way they happened was that I worked on building my proficiency at every job. So on ESPN, it started with marketing, but then I built it in business development also. Then I joined BCCI. Then I joined Nike, where it was marketing, digital as well as business. Then I joined the BCCI, where it was marketing and business. And when I joined ISL, it was everything. It was up to me to learn a little more about how the other verticals function, and how do I sort of learn those so that eventually it will lead to a leadership role in the future. Otherwise, I would have continued to do marketing all my life. Okay. Like in Nike, I mean, I was hired for marketing and digital, but the business role, I mean, I asked for it. Yeah. Okay. In BCCI, it was both, but yes, you sort of learned it as well as because somebody had to teach you. You've not done this before. In Reliance, you just had to go ahead and execute whatever you had learned. There were of course different types of learnings as to how do you set up, how do you scale up, etc. But yes, both are important, but not everybody is lucky enough to have a mentor. So I think initiative has to come from within to say, how do I, just because I'm doing X does not mean I'll continue to do X. You were hired to do X, but unless and until you show initiative, right, you cannot sort of grow. It was predominantly marketing cricket.
Okay.
and ESPN had cricket rights till 2002 till they lost the cricket rights to the World Cup rights to Sony. Strategy was to get users to watch more, to consume more as a broadcaster. Newer users for properties like Champions League or Premier League, and get people to consume more of cricket, because there'll be more. I mean, if you consume more, there'll be more viewership. More viewership means more ratings. More ratings means more revenue. Distribution to a larger extent and advertising revenue to a smaller extent. Now it's absolutely the other way around, because the market's changed. Then once ESPN lost those rights, we started creating our own events, which was called the Premier Hockey League, which I was part of the project lead, part of the team which led that project, which is conceptualizing the product right from the beginning, working along with the federation. That gave you a lot of insights about the product. Everything was wrong about that model, absolutely everything. But as a matter of, as a result of that, players developed, the ecosystem developed. They realized that a professional league could be possible. It was the first ever professional league in intercity professional league, before the IPL. Leagues are not a solution to develop sports in a country.
Okay.
Yeah. If you look at a pyramid, bottom is grassroots, which is 6 to 12, age 6 to 12. Then the Premier League, and then the national team. So having just one part of the pyramid will not fix the whole pyramid. So having leagues for Kho-Kho and archery will not make the sport successful in India. They'll only give them a little more eyeballs. That's it. When we started ISL, the idea was not to build ISL. Yes, it was to build ISL or show them the pathway. But the idea was to build the pyramid. 172 among 209 countries that play football. Today, India is 108. And it hasn't happened by magic because we had ISL. ISL is the key component, but it's about building the pyramid.
Right.
Anyone who thinks I'll do a league for that sport and make a lot of money like IPL and the sports will also develop is absolutely wrong. Again, like I said, it's not about the league. It is about the ecosystem. You build the ecosystem and India will, any country will do well. Take, for example, the same pyramid structure that like I explained to you. Football in Germany. It's absolutely developed, right?
Yes.
Football in Holland. Absolutely developed. Because that pyramid is Indian men's cricket. You can have two pyramids. Two teams can play England tomorrow if they want. I mean, our B team beat Australia right now. So what I'm saying is, it's not the league. It is building the ecosystem. No other sport other than football has tried to build the ecosystem right now. Kabaddi has built a league, but not the ecosystem.
Right.
Badminton, there have been stray pockets of building the pyramid, but the whole pyramid is not being built. Only 3 people are working in it. I mean, at least big names. I mean, there's Dravid Padukone, there is Vimal Kumar and Gopichand. Otherwise, in badminton, we produce best players. That shift has not happened right now, to be very honest.
Okay.
I mean, there was a saying, "Padhoge, likhoge, banoge nawab, kheloge, koodoge, hoge kharab." I've been told that all my childhood, and in spite of that, I've spent 20 years in sports because, However, I think the big problem is awareness and exposure. There are forward-thinking parents who still feel that that there could be a career in sports, who are aware, right, but not fully aware. And kids also sort of go and pester them, right, saying that I want to do sports. I personally counseled over 300 kids, for careers in sports. Kids, adults, everybody included, and at least 40-50 sets of parents. So I think from a parent's perspective, they are beginning to accept. Classic case in point. I mean, nobody would want to work for a radio station before the FM boom happened, right?
Absolutely.
In 2000, in the early 2000s.
Yes.
For everyone, radio would be Akashvani, right? And you would want your kid going and working there, right? They don't know what. Even forget about parents. Even candidates do not know what kind of jobs exist. They will not know, or what you do in match operations. They will not know. So I think first people need to know, then the parents need to know, so that it's not something where my kid will go and struggle. They will definitely have a decent enough career. That shift has not yet happened, and I like do almost one webinar a day. We speak to IIMs, we speak to BITs, IITs, you name the college, and all of them are aware. Oh, there's a career in sports also. For everyone, the career in sports stops with IPL. 50, 60 plus roles in sports, which people are not even aware of.
Okay.
So that's what we've taken upon us to ensure that we build that category and drive that awareness with people that yes, sports is a career and not just an interest or a hobby. Once I got Nike, I consider Nike my school. of what it taught me in terms of marketing. I mean, Nike is everything which is healthy and pure. Yeah. And that's what sport is, healthy and pure.
Yeah.
So Nike embodied that completely. And at that time, I'm talking about 2006 to 2011 when I was there, I had a wonderful time. It was really, really great because you understand the basic fundamental of, what's the basic fundamental of sport. I mean, why keeping things so simple is so important. And just sort of build on those, which is why we sort of built such wonderful communication, both the bus ad as well as the Bleed Blue campaign, because it was very, very simple. You just keep it simple and just sort of build on that, and that's what Nike is. Simple. I keep it simple. Nike's simple philosophy is to bring inspiration and innovation to every athlete in the world. Inspiration through your players and through the teams that you have, and innovation through product. It's very, very simple. Not every product will work in India, right? Because it's not made for India. It's made for global. For example, the Nike football shoe. It's not going to last you for more than 3-4 months. And India, we want everything that will last us for 3-4 years, right? So when we had a plan to build a shoe which will last on hard Indian surfaces. Yeah, I mean, I left Nike by then, but I'm sure we would have produced something which would have helped. So I think it's a mixture of the two. I mean, as far as inspiration is concerned, Nike has made a pretty solid impact, not just in India but all over the world. But as far as product is concerned, I mean, I would think not as much, because the products are priced very highly, because most of it comes from outside India. It's imported, and of course there are import duties added to it. It's not because Nike wants to sell it at this price point, but it is the lay of the land. I think product-wise, if you start making it in India, you can sell it a lot cheaper, but that also comes with a set of issues. So I think from an inspiration perspective, absolutely brilliant. I mean, 200 out of 100. But from a product perspective, may not be as much. If you don't have a great product, you won't have a great brand. I mean, you have to get your product right. Only then you'll get the brand right. You can't have a great brand with a horrible product, right? I mean, that's why all these companies become brands, right? Because you have a great product. I mean, I'd done enough marketing in my life. I had to get into the business side as well, and BCCI presented me with both options. So I think that way it was pretty good. You understand what's happening in a federation. I learned immensely in terms of all my commercial knowledge I've got from there as to why do things happen. I mean, world-class guidelines. How do you make a product world-class? Dealing with multiple stakeholders, both India and outside. Dealing with internal stakeholders, right? So I think it was a phenomenal experience that helped me from a commercial point of view. When I started in marketing, there was no Facebook, Twitter. There was not even a smartphone, right? Now, without a smartphone, you can't do marketing. Both are called marketing, but what used to happen then and what used to happen now, what happens now is very, very different. Then it was about getting more people to see more. Now it is for people to see more, engage more, consume more, different kinds of people to, you have multiple target audiences within the same group, multiple demographics, multiple psychographics in the same set, and you need to market to all of them differently, maybe in languages as well. Earlier, it was relatively simpler, in my opinion, because you would do one commercial in Hindi or English and then dub it in all languages and release it on all channels. That was it. And do hoardings in all languages, do press ads in all languages. Now, marketing is very, very different. I mean, you want to, earlier it was communication. Now, I guess it's connection, right? You need to engage with people a lot more. You need to hear them, because earlier they didn't have a voice. They would only see. Now they have a voice. So how do you react to that voice? And how do you sort of react platform-wise? I mean, people who are on Instagram and people who are on Twitter are very, very different. How do you react to both your both these constituencies, right? How do you react to and I guess what it has also changed to is it's also about experiences now. How do you, because a consumer is not seeking for a product, right? He or she is seeking an experience. And how does your brand provide that? Right. That's why, I mean, why do you think there is music in ISL? People want experiences. They want something over and above cricket, even in spite of having only 3 hours. entertainment, maybe food to your seat tomorrow, maybe pick up and drop from your house tomorrow. I mean, imagine if your 3 friends have gone, it could connect you to like-minded people who are sitting next to you, no?
Absolutely.
That's what technology is. That's how technology enables sport. Instead of watching a match with 3 people, you're watching the match with 30 people, with the same 30 people who may not be in your city at all. I think the consumer wants experiences, and if they are happy with the experience, they will come back again. If they don't get that experience could be on the ground, on your phone, on television. When I'm out for shopping at the mall, that experience would come to me anywhere. It's not again, the better experience we'll have. I'll always. I mean, it's like why do you drink Coke versus Pepsi or Uber versus Ola? It's all the same, right? Mentally, commercially, physically, I choose that brand. Football, we cannot touch cricket, especially IPL for some time. But we are on the right track. When I joined, everybody was like, "You're leaving IPL and joining ISL." Nobody comes and watches a football match in the country. Let's see. I mean, you go to places like Kerala where there would be 60,000 people lining up from 10 a.m. when the match is at 7:30 p.m. Sure. So it was a wonderful experience putting that together. Seeing that and to see where it has reached these days gives you immense pleasure. For example, you're going out to bat and you have fear of getting out, you'll never be able to bat properly, right? You need to figure out ways to win, even if things are not going your way. And that's how success, and that's exactly what sport is, right? So marketing a sport or working in sports is exactly the same thing. It's the mindset. If you say, oh, this is bad, this is going to fail, nobody comes, to hell with it. Yeah? I mean, might as well move on, think positively and see what you can do to correct it. Working in sports is, you need to have a solution-oriented mindset. All sports is live. True. Sports will not stop, just because there's a problem here. Say, can you stop the match for 5 minutes? I'll fix it and come. It doesn't work like that. Have plan B, plan C, plan D, etc. to keep working. If plan A doesn't work, do plan B. Plan B doesn't work, do plan C. And implement it. Sitting and giving orders is not what it is. I mean, whoever you are, VP, CEO, roll up your sleeves, pick up the carton, do what is required to make it work. I guess the leader's job is to get the best out of people. It's not about making them work. It is about they're already there because they do a good job. That's why they've been hired in the first place. Yeah, right. They were not hired. They were hired because because they're doing a good job. It's how you take them to a level higher is the leader's job. I mean, blessed to have great teams working with me, and it's never been too much of a problem. It's about inspiring them properly. So right. It's not about which people or their skills. It is about getting the best out, however capable you are. Think if this is your best, I will get that out of you. It's like if you're a sports person, you can't say I'm tired. You have to play, right? Similarly, working in sports is, they're not tired, you're also not tired, no? You need to ensure that it happens. And again, it's not about that, it's because of the athletes the sports happen. So they are obviously at the highest level, right? For us, we need to put the stage for the athletes to perform, right? And yes, there is absolute pressure. There's a lot of pressure. A lot of which doesn't even come out. The IPL matches were happening at an empty stadium. Everybody thinks the match to chal raha hai, aram se. But there'll be like some 20,000 problems there in the stadium which nobody is aware of. People working there know. Reliance is always about scale. So after setting up the ISL, I was part of the leadership team there, and Reliance always thinks, it's. The vision is amazing. If you sort of think of the vision, it is. If it can be made big, it can only be done by Reliance. Especially in a place like India, where there are a lot of challenges. So, but Reliance, the one thing, my one takeaway was think big and give it your best shot. It is like I don't like numbers, but I want to be in banking and finance. I hated maths in school, but I want to work in banking and finance. Can it happen? Yes, it can happen. Is it natural? It is not natural. So to work in sports, the passion for sports or the interest in sports has to come naturally. It cannot be forced. Having said that, are there people who work in sports who don't have an idea of How many teams play in the Premier League? Oh, there are lots of them, right? But they still do well because they were hired for a certain skill, right? But a majority of them will be crazy about sports. I would say at least 80 to 90% will be crazy about sports. It has that element of emotion. That's what makes people crazy, because it's got an element of emotion to it. I've experienced matches at Old Trafford. I've experienced matches at Barcelona, at Nou Camp. And I've experienced matches at the Nehru Stadium in Kochi. Kochi beats all of them hollow. It's amazing. It's amazing what the fans in Kerala are. Such wonderful fans. They deserve a lot more than just watching the game. So it pushes people to the club as well as the league to do a lot more things for such fans.
Right.
So they're classified under the avid fans category. So what do you do for avid fans, which is very different from normal fans? I think 2020 was about resilience. It was about thinking out of the box, and it was not about taking anything for granted. We took it so much for granted that I'll go catch up with my friend and sit and have a drink with him or her, right? Or this is done, and basis X, I'm making the following projections, right? And then lo and behold, one day everything stopped. So I guess the resilient ones came out of that sort of very well, especially in terms of sport, which was going to happen in 3 years has happened in 1 year only. Because people thought out of the box. They wanted, if certain sources of revenue were shutting down, for example, people in stadiums, you need to compensate for that somewhere, right? And nobody had even thought of that. So now people are thinking, monetizing that as well. And also, I guess, preparing for situations like these, which may happen in the future, you don't know. And definitely not taking anything for granted. And the same with I guess, our business also. We started in the pandemic. I hadn't anticipated that there'll be a pandemic, right? But we started nevertheless. While things have been, it's not normal outside. The big ones have stopped hiring, and the frozen hiring. Otherwise, we would have met our targets by now. But I guess being resilient sort of matters. We are also sort of figuring out how do you sort of, like for example, in my company, I haven't met 50% of the employees physically. I've only met 5 of them physically. All the rest were hired online. They work online. They're in different parts of the country, and we still sort of efficiently run a company together. As I mentioned earlier, I was working in sports for so many years. I realized that there is a serious gap that exists of getting the right people, of making the right people job ready, most importantly, and getting employers access to those candidates. So once you figure that out, once you know you're solving a problem and adding value, I think you've sort of you just have to figure out ways to scale the business. That's it. But for me, first step was, why am I doing this? To solve a problem, a genuine problem which exists, both from the candidate side and the employer side. And second, is it adding value to the world? Yes, it is. So only after these two were checked did we start Sporjo. Anyone who's graduate plus, be kids in schools who will know about careers in sports. It will be Sporjo content in languages, people who cannot speak English as well, and just speak their native languages. We'll start with the big ones, the more consumed languages first. I mean, Hindi, Tamil, Telugu, Kannada, etc., Bangla, and then move on to jobs in coaching, jobs in gaming, jobs outside India. Have Sporjo Plus, which focuses on people, senior level placements and people already in the sports industry. Have something for ex-athletes, have something for women, have something for differently abled, and have something as a mentorship program all across these. So there are lots and lots of plans, but will be rolled out one by one. Everything. I mean, we'll start with India, of course, because there are too many opportunities within India itself. With gaming coming in so big, I mean, there'll be lots and lots of jobs in gaming itself. 2-3 years back, there was no fantasy sports, right?
Exactly.
And now there's led by Dream 11. There are so many fantasy companies in India, right?
Yeah.
Similarly for esports, I mean, right now there is not much movement in India, but 2-3 years you'll see it'll really explode. Right now, not for an athlete, but I'll tell you what the general process is. So first we ask people to register. We ask them to fill in data. We take the CV and a couple of rounds of interviews out of the equation. So we ask them to fill a form which is completely digital. We do ask the regular questions that are there in the CV, but also questions like what's your favorite sporting moment and why, favorite sports person and why, favorite sports team and why, changes that you want to bring about in sports. All this gives a lot of rich and meaningful data to the employer. Step one is a test where we assess people on passion, personality, and proficiency. Passion is fairly straightforward. Proficiency is questions on sports with a lens of that vertical. And personality, when we get the result of that, we can accurately map people to the role that they're likely to succeed in. It's a difference between I think I'm good at this vis-a-vis a third-party evaluation saying you will be successful at that. The next step which is not mandatory, is a one-on-one consulting with an industry expert who's worked in the industry for 12 to 15 years. The next step is divided into 2 parts. It's called Sport Prep, which is so part 1 was assessment, part 2 was guidance, part 3 is training, which is an online module, an online course module. So for operations, you might have, it's 3 to 5 minute masterclass type modules. You don't have to give lots of gyan, but give practical knowledge on what's required to work in the industry. These have been curated with the help of industry experts. Yeah. And then along with that comes a real life project with a real life company. For example, how do you increase ticket sales of this franchise, which is a real problem. You don't sit and do fictitious case studies for improving the business model of IPL.
Right.
Yeah. So so all this, once you finish this journey, you will realize that a candidate is 50 to 60% job ready than saying I watch every match and I know how many times Lionel Messi has scored in free kicks, etc. That is great, right? But you also need to know what will happen once Lionel Messi comes to the ground. Lots of people who come to you, a few of them think they know everything. But once you sort of put them through the process or put them in front of the employer, do they realize the need to go through the process? Over 250 paid users. We have placed more than 25 people. We have another 16 or 17 mandates which are live on our pretty much a lot of them keep coming every week, and we keep placing people almost every week. Right. So as things open up and once things become slightly more normal than what they are now, we'll probably end up placing one person a day. These are graduates plus people who are already working or just about to enter a job. Absolutely, all kinds of backgrounds. Finance, digital. Yeah, just the list goes on. Absolutely goes on. So there's no one word to it. There are at least 3 to 4 words. It assesses, guides, trains, and places you. Different people do different parts of this in different places. There are companies which across the globe which get you jobs. Solve a problem and add value. For most business from a Sporjo perspective, we look to achieve whatever we've set out for ourselves. The long list that I told you just now. We need to, I guess, be nimble. A lot of things that we try out, may not work. But unless you try, you won't know whether it works or not. So we need to be nimble and, test market or pilot it efficiently, and then have meaningful partnerships with people. Nobody can do anything alone, right? Sport is also teams, right? Even if you play an individual sport like tennis, there is an army of 10, 12 people behind you ensuring that you perform like that. Having meaningful partnerships with people who can help us reach our vision and whom I guess we can help reach their vision. And I think we need to think a lot ahead, saying that, okay, so if something like this, if you envisage something in 2023, don't start work on it in 2022. Start now. First one was the pandemic, of course, but it's okay. If not for the pandemic, we wouldn't have started Sporjo. So I'm pretty okay with that. The other thing is I guess driving awareness amongst people, like I told you earlier. People are not aware that there are jobs in sports, so it makes the job slightly difficult. Also, people expect jobs immediately, saying, "I know this. I'm all about sports, so I should get a job tomorrow." So it's very difficult to convince people at that point in time that that it is you need to follow a process. Otherwise, there won't be any Sporjo, right? I could have sat in my house over a computer and got you a job. Right. So I guess awareness, education, laying that foundation. It's not a challenge, but yeah, I mean that's the way you start any business. Of course, it's. I mean, every day you're learning. If you don't learn, you can't keep up with what's happening right now. If you don't learn, if you're not yourself on these platforms, you don't see what is happening. I mean, you'll really be left behind. Nobody expected. I mean, when we were in Nike, nobody expected people to buy shoes and apparel from a website, right? So what I'm saying is, unless and until you evolve, you do that, you ensure that the processes and systems are in place, it won't work. It's I won't call it an advice. It is the Sporjo formula. It's passion plus personality plus proficiency. It applies to everything, but mostly to a career in sports. If you're passionate, if you have the right by personality, I don't mean being cool. By personality, I mean the right fit for the right job, right? And proficiency, which is your subject matter expertise, which is what you're good at. All three need to check for an employer to hire you. Right. So, if you're saying advice would be to build your passion. And again, this is not just sports. If you're passionate about finance, you're passionate about numbers, right? If you like finance and you want to build your proficiency in finance, you should be passionate about numbers. So you should always continue to enhance your passion, build your personality, and keep working on your proficiency. More than resources, I would say it has to come from within. I guess positive mindset, most importantly. It doesn't matter whether you're working at 2 a.m. or you're leaving from office at 6 a.m. At 6 p.m. Right? A positive mindset, of course, right? And I guess problem-solving ability. You have to work hard, whatever you do, right? And I guess having that basic problem-solving ability, because sports is all about crisis only. So you manage a lot of crises. So I guess having a positive mindset always, and I guess having a problem-solving mentality, which sort of were the only two things that I sort of bank on. Even now, you're solving a big problem, right? It's figuring out where the solutions are and giving those solutions to people. It'll be unfair to pick 3 out of those. Different people have influenced you at different times in your life when you're going through the whole. So just because someone met me in when I had no idea about sports does not make that person's contribution a lot more. It was right at that point in time. It's like you can't compare Bradman and Tendulkar, right? He used to play on uncovered wickets. But Tendulkar faced people like Vaughan, Magra, etc. You can't compare Tendulkar and Kohli because Tendulkar did not have DRS at that point in time. It'll be really unfair for me to point out 3 people or 4 people or even 5 people because there have been so many inspirations at different times in my life along the way. So slightly difficult. I mean, there are lots and lots of them. Lots of them. When I write my book, you can read all about them. That sports is not a hobby or an interest, it's a profession. 99.5% of people think that. They can write to admin@sporjo.com, admin@sporjo.com, and someone definitely answers immediately. Vision is to have 500,000 sports job-ready professionals through Sporjo over the next 10 years. That's our vision statement. I mean, that's what we want to be known for.